In this second video, I'm going to give you the feedback from questions 2 and 3 from the chapter discussion. Question 2 was about why the first civilizations emerged. The story is very similar for why Neolithic society settled down and had bigger populations. So with more of a surplus, you have a larger population, more settlement, and this process continues really on steroids with the transition to civilizations in the early Bronze Age. The word civilization here I'm using in the limited sense of places with urban centers, from the Latin word meaning a city, civilization. I don't mean it in any judgmental sense of civilized people are somehow better than non-civilized people. We use it in that strict sense of first civilizations with cities. So larger population leads to larger cities, larger agricultural surpluses, particularly associated with the irrigation. That's a planned management of water in the Mesopotamian river valley area and in the river valley of the Nile in Egypt. Require not just, don't just create a bigger population, but also require more political and social organization. So maybe irrigation is a reason for civilizations emerging. Finally, it's been suggested religion leads to the first civilizations. Organized religion gives people a sense of common purpose and also requires a permanent settlement around a temple or a cult center. The third question was about how geography and the environment affected Egypt and Mesopotamia. This comes out quite clearly in the two crash course videos about the two regions. In Mesopotamia, you have two rivers. It tends to lend itself to greater political decentralization. In Sumeria, for example, you have city-states rather than a single kingdom. And the Mesopotamian rivers tended to be unpredictable, tended to flood and be dangerous as well as life-givers. A key Mesopotamian work of literature called the Epic of Gilgamesh has a flood story very similar to that of Noah in the Old Testament, which suggests their fear of flooding. In the Nile Valley of Egypt, the river is far more predictable. The flooding comes at a predictable time of year. It's easier to manage. Also, the single river provided for a sense of political and social unity. And while the lands were flooded and the peasants were waiting for the floodwaters to subside so they could go back to farming their land, the king was able to conscript that labor and work on big projects, most famously building the pyramids, which were built for the most part not by slaves, as stereotype and Hollywood would have, but by peasants who are conscripted when they're not working on the fields. The pharaoh basically saying to them, instead of sitting around doing nothing, I'm going to make you work on my pyramid.